I've been a cook for 31 years. Palace kitchens, ship galleys, refugee mess halls, back alley tea stalls. I have made food in all of them, and not one of those places ever asked me my last name. They asked what I could do with a block of starch and half a bag of spice. I told them, and they hired me, and that was enough. The Vareni imperial household was the same. The hiring steward looked at my hands, which is the right thing to look at, and said the position was mine if I could be at the lower kitchen by bell. I was there by 1:30. I have never been late to a kitchen in my life. The lower kitchen served the household staff. The upper kitchen, one floor above, served the imperial family. I was told very clearly that I was a lower kitchen cook, and that the upper kitchen was the province of Master Tilvin and his 6 certified culinary staff. I understood. I kept my head down. I ran my station, and I made the best staff porridge that household had tasted in years. The head steward said so himself. I thanked him and asked if I could get another bag of Terran grain. I had been there 11 days when I first heard the boy. The Vareni are tall and pale, with that particular silver-gray skin that catches light like the back of a spoon. Their children, and I had seen a few in the corridors, are smaller, softer versions of the same. The emperor's son, the heir, 5 years old by their reckoning, which I am told is equivalent to perhaps 7 in human terms. His name was Solver, and everyone in that household said it quietly, the way you say the name of someone you feel sorry for. His mother had died 4 months before I arrived. A fast illness. The court physician said there was nothing that could have been done. The emperor had gone very still. The staff described it as a kind of locked-away stillness. The door to some room inside him simply closed and bolted. He attended to his duties, he ate his meals. He did not, as far as anyone could tell, grieve out loud. He had left that to his son. Solvier grieved out loud. I heard him before I saw him. I was carrying a tray of wrapped provisions from the lower storeroom up the back passage, and the crying came through the wall from somewhere above. Not the raw tearing cry of a child in a tantrum, but the slow, worn kind, the kind that has been going on a long time, and has stopped expecting to be answered. I stood in that passage for a moment with my tray and listened. Then I went on. I heard it again the next morning and the morning after that. On the 4th day, I learned why. The upper kitchen steward came down for an exchange of dry goods, and he talked the way people who carry too much talk when given a chance. The boy had gone through 6 nannies in 4 months. 6, each one the finest in the Vareni tradition, trained, certificated, recommended by the court itself. Each one had tried every method known to Vareni child-rearing. The boy was not difficult, the steward said, was simply inconsolable. He would not eat much, he would not be redirected, he would lie in his nursery and grieve, and nothing shifted him. The 6th nanny had resigned the day before. There was no 7th one yet. I said that was very sad. The steward agreed. He took his dry goods and went upstairs. I thought about it while I worked. I am not a nanny, and I had no training in Vareni child psychology, and no one had asked me anything. But I have fed people for 31 years, and I know that a child who will not eat is a child who has gone somewhere inside themselves that food has not yet reached. I know the distance. I have seen it before in the mess halls, in the relief kitchens. It is not a parenting problem. It is a hunger problem, and not the kind that a certified curriculum addresses. I made a small flatbread, just a piece, the kind I would make for myself on a long shift, ground grain, with a little dried herb pressed in. I tucked it in my apron pocket. Then I carried a delivery of garnish to the upper kitchen, which I was not asked to do but which needed doing, and on the way back, I took the long route past the nursery corridor. The door was open. Solver was sitting on the floor beside a low table, not at it. He had a set of small carved figures in front of him, the kind of intricate Vareni puzzle toys I had seen in the market, but he was not playing with them. He was just sitting there with his knees pulled up, and his silver-gray face turned slightly away. And the room was very quiet. I stopped in the doorway. I was not invited. I had no business being there. I knocked on the open door anyway. He looked at me. Vareni children have very large eyes, golden amber, with a dark outer ring, and his had that particular swollen look that comes from a lot of recent crying. He did not say anything, I said, in galactic standard, because my Vareni is about 4 words long, that I was sorry to bother him, but I had extra bread and I hated to see it go to waste. I held it out. Not toward him exactly, just held it. The way you hold something when you are making clear it is available, and there is no obligation. He looked at the bread for a long time. Then he looked at me. I did not say anything else. I have learned not to fill silence with reassurance. Reassurance is for the person giving it. After a while I started humming. It was not a decision. It is simply what my hands do when I am waiting, when I am working, when I am in a kitchen at early hours before anyone else arrives. It is an old song from my grandmother's side of the family, nothing you could name, just a low wandering melody that moves in a circle and never quite resolves. Solver unfolded his legs. He walked across the floor to me, the bread out of my hand, and sat down against the wall beside the door. He ate it in small pieces. He did not look at me while he ate, which was fine. I stood there and hummed. When the bread was gone, he leaned sideways and rested his head against my leg, the way a child does when they have simply run out of holding themselves upright. I did not move. I kept humming the same melody. After a while, his breathing slowed and he was asleep. I learned later that the emperor had come down the court to check on his son and seen us. I did not know he was there. I was looking down at the boy's silver-gray hair against my kitchen apron and thinking about nothing in particular. The way the emperor described it to his court chamberlain, and the chamberlain told the upper kitchen steward, told me, was that he had stood in the passage for a long time before he went away. He did not want to move us. He sent the head steward to me the next morning with a formal inquiry. Would I be willing to spend 1 hour each afternoon in the nursery corridor as part of my duties on whatever terms I found acceptable? I thought about it for one moment. I said yes. One condition, that I could bread myself, and that no one told me what kind to make. The steward blinked at me. I think he had been expecting a negotiation about wages. He said that seemed entirely agreeable. I thanked him and went back to my station. I have been at this palace for 7 months now. I still work the lower kitchen. I still make the staff porridge that the head steward calls the best in the household. I carry an extra piece of flatbread in my apron pocket every afternoon. And I sit in the nursery corridor for an hour, and Solver brings me whatever he has been doing that day. The puzzle toys, a drawing, piece of writing he wants to read aloud, and we sit there together, and sometimes I hum, and sometimes I do not. He calls me Mama now. He started it 3 weeks in, very quietly, like he was testing whether the word would break. It did not break. I let him say it. I have heard that the emperor sometimes stands at the end of the corridor. I do not turn around to check. Shh. I have a boy to sit with and bread in my pocket, and a song in my chest that has no ending, and that is more than enough work for one afternoon. Some things cannot be fixed by a certificate. Some things can only be given by the person who has been invisible long enough to understand exactly what invisibility costs, and who decides one quiet morning to knock on an open door and hold out something warm. I was a cook for 31 years before I knocked on that door. I will be a cook for 31 more, but I will always be the woman who sat down on that floor, and I would not trade that for any title this palace could give me.